Stop Googling, "Why is my plant dying?" Your plant already told you the answer. You just have not learned to read it yet. According to University Extension plant research, over 90% of home plant failures trace back to just 5 nutrient deficiencies. Each one leaves a unique, visible pattern on the leaf, a fingerprint. You have been guessing when there was a map the whole time. Match the exact pattern your plant is showing. Grab the right $0 kitchen ingredient, brew a simple rescue liquid, and watch your plant start recovering within a few days. No guesswork, no expensive products. Now, one of these 5 patterns is misread by most gardeners, and the fix is the complete opposite of what you would expect. I will show you exactly which one it is later in this video. Here is exactly what we will cover. First, we look at why plants fail in the first place, and why most of what you are doing is not targeting the actual problem. Then I walk you through all 5 diagnostic pairs. See the pattern, grab the ingredient, follow the exact recipe. And finally, I will give you a simple weekly schedule, exact doses for pots versus garden beds, and bust 3 myths that are probably wasting your effort right now. This is a 10-minute diagnostic field guide. Stay to the end for the weekly schedule. It is the part most gardeners skip, and it is why their fixes do not last. Here is the thing most gardeners do not realize. You can add all the water, sunlight, and generic fertilizer you want. If the one nutrient your plant is actually missing is not addressed, none of it works. Back in 1840, a German scientist named Justus von Liebig described what he called the law of the minimum. A plant's growth is limited by the single nutrient in shortest supply, not by the ones that are abundant. In plain language, it does not matter how much nitrogen or potassium you add if calcium is what your plant is actually starving for. You are filling the wrong bucket. Here is why this matters. Each of the 5 key nutrients, nitrogen, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and beneficial microbes, produces a specific visible pattern when it is deficient. Cornell University and University of Arizona Extension Labs have documented these patterns in detail. This is your decoder. Today's guide uses those patterns as a field diagnostic tool. You see the pattern on your plant. You match it to the right ingredient. You apply it. No soil test kit, no guesswork. One of these 5 ingredients does not feed your plant directly at all. It feeds something else, and that something else does the real work. You will find out which one in just a moment. Let's go through all 5, one symptom at a time. Starting with the most common one in home gardens. If you are seeing uniform yellowing that starts from the bottom leaves and works its way upward, that is your nitrogen signal. Here is why this happens. Nitrogen is mobile inside the plant. When supply runs low, the plant pulls nitrogen from its older leaves at the bottom and sends it up to new growth at the top. The old leaves turn yellow because they have been emptied out. The $0 fix is rice water. Take a 1/4 cup of unsalted, uncooked rice. Soak it in 2 cups of plain water for 24 hours. Strain out the rice. Dilute that water 1 to 5 with regular water. Then drench the soil thoroughly. Do this once every 2 weeks. One mistake that breaks this method: using salted or hot water. Salt burns roots. Hot water damages the beneficial compounds in the soak. Always use room temperature water and always plain, unsalted rice. You should see the newest leaves greening up within about 7 to 10 days. The yellow leaves at the bottom will not reverse. That tissue is already gone. But the plant stops losing ground and starts rebuilding from the top. That is nitrogen. Now let's look at a pattern that often gets confused with it, but the fix is completely different. Pattern number 2. Scorched brown edges on the margins of older leaves. The tips and edges turn brown. The center of the leaf stays green. You might also see the leaf tips curl downward. Potassium regulates the water pressure inside each plant cell. When potassium is low, the cells at the leaf margins lose pressure first. They dry out and die. That is the scorch you are seeing. The fix is onion peel tea. Take 4 to 5 dry onion skins. Drop them in 1 liter of water. Bring to a boil for 10 minutes. Let it cool completely. Apply the cooled tea undiluted directly to the soil. Do this once a week. Critical note here, never apply this to dry soil. If the soil is already dry, the concentrated tea creates osmotic stress. It pulls water out of the roots instead of feeding them. Always water the soil first, then apply the onion tea. That is potassium. Next up is a pattern that looks completely different. Tiny yellow spots appearing between the veins. Pattern number 3. Yellow patches appearing between the leaf veins, but the veins themselves stay green. This is called interveinal chlorosis, and it points directly to magnesium deficiency. Here is why magnesium is different from the others. Magnesium sits at the center of every chlorophyll molecule in your plant. Chlorophyll is what captures sunlight and runs the whole energy system. No magnesium means a broken solar panel. The damage shows up between the veins because that tissue is where chlorophyll production is most active. The fix is Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate. But here is the important part. Apply it as a foliar spray, not a soil drench. Dissolve 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt in 1 gallon of water. Transfer it to a spray bottle. Spray directly onto the leaves, both the top and underside, every 2 weeks. 2 mistakes to avoid. First, soil drench with Epsom salt. It works, but it is much slower. Foliar spray gets magnesium into the leaves within hours. Second, spraying more often than every 2 weeks. That causes leaf burn. Stick to the 2-week interval. That is magnesium. Now, I promised you earlier there is one pattern that most gardeners misread. This is it. Pattern number 4. The tips and edges of your newest, youngest leaves turn black or dark brown, and the new growth looks twisted or curled inward. On tomatoes, you may also see blossom end rot. Here is the mistake most gardeners make when they see this. They see burned edges and they assume it is over-fertilization. So they add more nitrogen or stop feeding completely. Both responses make it worse. This is calcium deficiency. And the fix is the complete opposite of what most people do. Here is why calcium is different from nitrogen. Calcium does not move inside the plant once it is deposited. It goes to new growth first, and it stays there. So when supply drops, it is always the youngest tissue that suffers first. The newest leaves and growing tips. The $0 fix is eggshell vinegar. Dry and crush 4 to 6 eggshells. Place them in a jar. Add 1 cup of plain white vinegar. The fizzing you see is the calcium being released. Let it react for about 5 minutes. Strain out the shell pieces. Dilute that liquid 1 to 10 with water. Apply to the soil every 2 weeks. This remedy is generally considered safe around pets and children when properly diluted. Keep the concentrated jar out of reach and check with your vet if you have any concerns. One more reminder: if you see this symptom, do not reach for a nitrogen product. Stop, look at the leaves, and ask yourself one question. Is the damage on old leaves or new leaves? Old leaves, that is nitrogen. New leaves, that is calcium. That one question saves you from the most common diagnostic mistake in home gardening. Pattern number 5 does not look like a specific deficiency. The plant just looks tired, pale all over, slow growth, maybe the roots look brown or slimy when you check them. No single dramatic symptom. The whole plant seems stuck. Here is the thing most gardeners never learn. Your plant cannot absorb most nutrients in the soil directly. It needs a living community of microorganisms to break those nutrients down into forms the plant can actually use. When that microbiome is depleted from overwatering, chemical overuse, or compacted soil, your plant is essentially locked out of its own pantry. The fix is a fermented vegetable scrap liquid. Take about 1 cup of chopped vegetable scraps. Avoid garlic, onions, and citrus. Add 1 tablespoon of sugar, a pinch of salt, and 1 liter of water. Cover loosely and leave at room temperature for 48 hours. Then dilute 1 part to 20 parts water. Apply weekly for 4 weeks. This is generally considered safe for most pets when properly diluted. Keep the undiluted jar sealed and out of reach, and consult your vet if you are unsure. The mistake that destroys this completely: using garlic or onion scraps. Both are antimicrobial. You would be trying to grow beneficial microbes using the exact compounds that kill them. Stick to neutral vegetable scraps: carrot, celery, bell pepper, leafy greens. You now have all 5 diagnostic pairs, but there is one more trap. Let me show you how to use these correctly and which 3 myths are still slowing most gardeners down. Here is your simple weekly routine. Every Sunday morning, check 3 things. First, the bottom leaves. Second, the middle-age leaves. Third, the newest leaf tips. Match the pattern you see to the 5 fingerprint chart. Then apply just 1 remedy at a time, never 2 on the same day. For container plants, use half the dose shown in each recipe. In a confined pot, minerals concentrate faster and the system is more sensitive. For garden beds, use the full dose. And after applying any remedy, wait 7 full days before checking for results. The process takes time. Trust it. Now let's clear up 3 myths that are still causing problems in home gardens. Myth number 1. Rice water contains arsenic and is dangerous for your plants. This one spread widely online. Here is the actual picture. Arsenic in rice concentrates in the grain itself during plant growth. A 24-hour cold soak of uncooked rice in plain water does not extract meaningful arsenic levels. Food safety research, including data from the USDA, supports this. Cold rice soak water is safe to use on your plants. Myth number 2. You can combine all 5 remedies into one super tea and apply everything at once. Do not do this. Several of these ingredients have different pH levels and conflicting chemistry. Mixing them creates unpredictable reactions and may cancel out the benefits of each one. Apply them separately with at least 3 to 5 days between different remedies. Myth number 3. Fresh manure is a quick nitrogen fix. Fresh manure can burn roots from high ammonia concentration, and it may carry pathogens. If you want to use manure, it needs to be aged for at least 1 year. Or use worm castings instead. Same nitrogen benefit, much gentler on the plant. And your neighbors will not be asking about the smell. Let me leave you with the 3-second version and one action to take in your garden today. Your plant is not broken. It is communicating. It is showing you exactly which one of 5 nutrients it is missing through a specific visible pattern on the leaf. Now you have the decoder. For each of those 5 patterns, there is a $0 kitchen ingredient, an exact recipe, and a recovery timeline. No guesswork, no expensive products. Check 1. Plant. Find the pattern that matches closest. Apply 1 remedy. Wait 7 days. That is the lazy gardener's diagnostic system. And remember the one pattern I told you about at the very start, the most commonly misread one. Distorted, dark-tipped new growth is calcium deficiency, not over-fertilization. The fix is eggshell vinegar, not holding back on feeding. The opposite of what most gardeners do. Now you know. Go look at one of your plants right now. Find the symptom that matches closest, then drop it in the comments. I think mine is nitrogen, or potassium, or whichever pattern fits. I reply to every single one. Your plant already had the answer. Happy gardening!